the relationships and invite. But I think too, we want to make sure everybody feels welcome and that there's accessibility. That this is a place for you. If you love the game of golf and you want to have some impact, we give so many different opportunities and classifications to be a part of our community. So I'm hoping that gets out. I think part of that comes back to our own individual engagement, where we invite people more frequently to be a part of us and to come and participate, whether it's in our tournaments or whether it's in our education. I think those are huge, simple ways that we can do without even calling it an initiative altogether. We're excited at Wilshire to be hosting a new LPGA event. The title is a little bit long, but it's officially called the Hugel JTBC LA Open, and it'll be here April 19th through 22nd. And there's an opportunity. We've kind of reaching back to a few of our folks on our board. One of the new initiatives that are being rolled out is with through Allison Kurt and Kim Falcone and Nikki Gatch, reaching out to those ladies to help talk to our SCPGA junior league play, or not junior league players, but our junior players from our junior tour, and really kind of reestablish some of these strong relationships so that we can, as we have these great alumni that are out there, hopefully they can actually help us kind of connect the dots a little bit as well. It's an opportunity to highlight golf in the marketplace for females and for golf in general. We're now part of this what's considered a West Coast swing. So there's 5 events the LPGA has put together, really between the time of the Masters and the Players Championship, and 4 of those events are here in California, 3 of which are in Southern California. And Rennie Brown does a great job at RER and the team over at Mission Hills with the ANA, and then Wilshire will be a part of that. And then there's an event in Hawaii that's just before ours. So, I think it's just one more opportunity to kind of highlight the fact that we all love golf. There's a place for all that want to participate, and I hope that through our event here, we get a chance to really kind of promote that a little bit more, and maybe even reconnect with some of those great junior players that we've had before in the past that have graduated to the top professional level for female athletics. And looking forward to anybody that wants to be a part of that too, to give me a shout out, and love to have you come over and help out, as I'm sure Rennie and the team over at Mission Hills would appreciate the same.
Sliding over to the topic of special awards. For full transparency, can you talk about the process through which special awards are determined?
Yeah, you bet. I think I'll go back a couple of things. We talked about how the national, participation in the national level. There was a great speaker, and would encourage, I think it's still online, but a guy named David Novak, who's past CEO of Yum Brands, gave a presentation at the meeting we were at in Austin this year, and just talked about the power of recognition, particularly how it can impact your organization related to your strategic goals. And each one of our board members and past presidents received a copy of that book with the express idea of doing a couple things. Number one, I think special awards has the opportunity to really continue to highlight the best of us. And I think there's been a cynical approach to you must be on the board to win an award kind of mentality. And I think that's something I'm very sensitive to. One of the great honors, if we go back to your first question of being the president, is being able to call somebody who has won a section award and let them know the good news. Because obviously, for those that don't know, those winners we forward on to the national level as well. And that's part of the process, is that we kind of take the questions or the standards at the national level, we apply it to our section level. So when Sharon Kerfman sends out the notice to all of the membership and says, hey, it's a good time to recognize somebody, here's how you can do it, there's an alignment that's kind of done so that we can give our award winners the best chance at the national level. So that's one component of it. At 9 o'clock today, I've asked Rob Oosterhouse and Joe Groman to co-chair our special awards committee this year, and each chapter has a representative that sits on this committee, along with a few at-large selections and some a couple past presidents. And there is a criteria that I've asked them to kind of review to make sure that it's more relevant, make sure that the process is easier. I think some people have made the comment that they get nominated, and now it's turning into an essay contest. Is it thinking about some other comments? Are you writing a novel, or are you just putting down your name, rank, and serial number to respond? Because it's some people really take advantage of that opportunity to share, and other people feel very humbled, and they don't feel like there's really much content they need to provide. So we've asked them to review that and see if there's something more we can do that maybe helps in terms of interviewing the nominees and getting to know them a little bit better. We've also asked this committee to identify some potential new categories that are unique to Southern California based on our desire to grow our focus on player development and elevating the golf professional. So there's some of that. But as the process goes right now, the nominations come out. They come back in. Sharon cultivates those. The committee gets an advance of all the applications for review. And I think that's one of the things when you sit part of that committee, you really see the depth of skill that you have, the way some people are and what they're doing at their respective clubs is just, it's benchmark material. It's the best that you've ever seen. And you kind of get those thoughts together coming into the room, and then there's a voting process, and that's how the winners are picked. It's picked by the committee along with the chapter reps and some past presidents. And again, we just want to see if there's better ways for us to do that, if there's more unique opportunities to recognize our fellow professionals, because quite honestly, while I feel completely confident that our winners this last year absolutely deserved it, as they have for many years, I'm very sensitive to the fact that there's probably more people that are hanging out there that are just doing a great job every day, but they're kind of they're just not as visible to us, and they're not seeking the real high praise or recognition themselves. So we've got to do a better job of identifying them and promoting them because they simply won't do them themselves.
Well, yeah, it's the push and pull of marketing and politicking for an award, or truly getting it because you're out there being a great golf professional, and it is a challenge identifying who those people are, especially if they're not marketing themselves and they're not seeking that praise. How does the section elect members to its Hall of Fame?
And just going back to John, before I go to the Hall of Fame topic, politicking is a great word, and I think that's the part of it that, again, probably feels the most cynical or sensitive component to it. And I would genuinely hope that people would know that there's a sincere and authentic approach to that selection, and that we can find a way to not make it so politicized or such a writing exercise, right? That we truly find the right people. And so anyway, it's a big one. It's one of the things that I think again, the takeaway from the David Novak book, which is called Oh Great One, for those that are looking for an easy read. It is just simply that. There's a lot of people that aren't going to play that game, and quite honestly, I don't think that's what we're looking for. Another area, I guess you kind of say in terms of focus or initiative at the section level has been our Hall of Fame. We have a lot of great winners. So over this last class, we had Bill Holbert and Jeff Johnson and Frank Beard. Over the last few years, we've had Terry Wilcox, Max Bea, Bob Husband, Jimmy Powell, Jerry Wiz, J.D. Ebersberger, Jamie Mulligan, Eric Monty, Richard Chavez, Lynn Kinnett, and many others so well deserving. And, we really have tried to make sure that the process gets to be, again, one that's memorialized. I think so much time that you spend in the boardroom, a lot of things were kind of remembered, and I think we're just trying to kind of get these things kind of structured. But basically, we're looking at making some amendments. So I think we're pretty close. Just so everybody knows, the committee that makes up the Hall of Fame are the past presidents and the executive committee, which is the officers of the board, and that's the group that comes together on an annual basis to review it. Traditionally, the eligibility has been purposely vague enough to kind of capture the essence of the award. So we talk about those that have given a great contribution as a player or a teacher or administrator or mentor or promoter. They must be obviously a member of our Southern California PGA. It encompasses public service and dedication to the business of golf as well. Right now, 50 years of age is the age threshold, and like I said, we also kind of focus on their activity within the community and their service to the section. A few other things we're kind of taking a look at. Is the age the right age? Should we add more specific years of service? Is this something that, is 50 years of age and 20 years of service the right kind of stuff? Those are the things that the board, when it met here in last week in Temecula, we start kind of going through, because our purpose is pretty straightforward. We want to honor and perpetuate the memory of our PGA professionals that have enduring accomplishments and have distinguished themselves for us and the game of golf. So, and that that they would have some historical significance would be important to us. So, that's kind of how it happens. We are coming up with an official way of kind of determining the number of people we'll get in a particular year. We've had some years where we've had no recipients. We've had some years where we've had 3 recipients, and I think all of those things become topics of conversation. But I like to think it's a byproduct of a life well spent serving and promoting our game, and so we'll continue to finalize this stuff over the coming weeks and months as we get into our June board meeting, which will be in Coronado, where our summer meeting will be this June.
You mentioned that the national meeting was coming to the Coachella Valley in November. How did that get determined?
So again, Tom will correct me where I'm wrong. I think at some point years ago they determined that the outgoing president, they would go to his hometown. So 2 years ago we were in New York City for Eric Sprague's outgoing presidency, and this year we'll be in Indian Wells for Paul's outgoing presidency, and then we'll be, I'm sure, in Connecticut in a couple years for Susie's. In the off years, I think it just is a matter of selecting a place that the national office wants to go, and but that's pretty simply how it was put together. I don't know when exactly that started, but that's been the practice over the last several years that I'm aware of.
And do we as a section have anything in mind for how we're going to prepare for that, or how we're going to showcase our section?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things. And again, there'll be more information on this coming out. And if there's anybody on this call that that really wants to participate, we'd certainly love to have any volunteers we have. But traditionally, when you go to an annual meeting, there's for the delegates and past presidents and other folks that are attending, there's a section hospitality where a little gift is given away to all the attendees. I think you're obviously being the fact that it's Coachella Valley and a place where I spent about 15 years of my career. It's going to be golf. So I would imagine the phone calls will be, will start to kind of populate around that time. So there's traditionally some golf that's involved with our meeting as well. They've incorporated that in the last couple of years. Again, kind of getting people engaged and say, hey, if we're professionals, we should be probably playing when we get together. And then there's some other activities that, a lot of people go out and dine, and it's a great way for the community to be involved. So if anybody within the desert, or if you have contacts within the desert and you feel like you want something to be showcased, or you feel like there's an opportunity to really kind of represent the best of us, I'd ask that you reach out to myself, but more specifically to Tom Addis, and as he and the staff will be really the ones putting the structure together for that week for many things. And then obviously the national office gets involved with how they select the hotel rooms and where the award dinners are and some of the bigger things. But I would expect that you'll probably receive a lot of phone calls from people coming in from all over the country, that week and wanting to play some golf. And my guess is that many of those that are in that situation will be most likely still on some cart paths, as the overseat will probably still be going and recovering, or at least getting established. So there'll be some more information, more to come, I think, when we get through the June meeting.
That's particularly relevant to me. I'm out here in Palm Desert. How many do we anticipate attending?
That's a great question. I think, in terms of the delegates and kind of that sort of stuff, there's easily 400 or 500 people that attend most of the functions. But the meeting itself is a few thousand. So you get about 400 that are actually specifically dedicated to the business end of it, and then there's some spouses and other people that are in the market. And I know that like I said, Tom and the crew will be setting up the golf courses and looking for volunteers and people to be a part of hospitality. But it should be fun. It's a lot of people that you've seen before year over year that come to the desert, I think, too. And then you've got some people that have never been to the Coachella Valley, and they're going to be blown away at the beauty and the hospitality that chapter in our section, I think, will be giving them.
That's the conclusion of the questions that I have formulated, Mr. Keefer. Do you have any other topics that you would like to touch on, or you would like to wrap up in conclusion?
Well, I think there's a few things I'd just like to say, maybe in closing, that number one, it's a huge honor to be the president. It's not something I feel like I would put it this way. It's something I feel like every day I've got to really go out and earn that responsibility, and hopefully continue to promote the best of us. I'm so convinced that the PGA professional is the most valuable professional at the facility, at any facility, and that doesn't necessarily mean that they have to have all the accolades, but it's so obvious when you take a look at the way that as professionals we connect people, we promote, our level of engagement and our level of enthusiasm can really carry the day. And I would say, regardless of your spot, whatever club you're at, whatever position you're at a particular club, it's there's a lot of us that are willing to mentor. There's many of us, including myself, that continue to be mentored, and I think sometimes you just have to ask the question, and be willing to be vulnerable and be willing to learn. And I think if you do those things, then you'll continue to be the impact that I think we all can be. There's a lot of challenging data out there about our game and about our profession, so to speak. And I've never really bought into that golf is dead. I do think that we've suffered loss. And I do think that there's a way to get that back. And I don't think you have to worry about trying to eat the whole elephant at one time. I think it's just a slow, steady, daily effort. And hopefully you all know that, your section staff in particular, but the officers are all here to help and support and listen. Our country faces a lot of different issues, and our communities face a lot of different issues. And golf, to me, seems to be that ideal haven, a place where you can come in, be restored, be with friends, build great relationships, and that's why I think that we'll always have a particular place of relevance in people's lives. Your board and officers are dedicated to really doing their very best. We volunteer our time. We're not perfect. We're going to make a bunch of mistakes along the way. And I think your patience is always appreciated, and your candor, quite candid. Quite honestly, that's probably the best part is somebody coming up and saying, "Hey, we're really, have you given some thought to this or given some thought to that?" And that seems like where the best discussions always seem to go. I will throw this out, John, only because I wear my team out on this a little bit too, but I'm absolutely a fan of saying, leaders are readers. So here's 3 titles for the group. First title was the Oh Great One by David Novak. Great book, and something to kind of simply institute at your own facility. It's a simple read. It'll take you a day and a half to read it at the most, and you can kind of go. I grew up in somewhat of a military family of many family members served, and one in particular was a naval sub captain. And so there's a book by another naval sub captain by the name of David Marquet, Turn the Ship Around, which is a good book on really kind of distilling leadership through your organization. And I was joking with Tom yesterday there's a couple different titles of books that are out there that we're kind of focused on, and the other one right now is really kind of taking people with you. It's another David Novak book, but there's so much material that's out there that I just feel like we as professionals need to continue to focus our efforts to learn more, and have great impact. Tape Breakers would be my 4th book. That's by Jim Akers, and Jim's been good enough to come to a couple of our different meetings and just talked about a life well led and about accomplishing goals. So I appreciate everybody listening. I appreciate any questions that come up. If there's something that we didn't discuss today, my email address is todd@wilshirecountryclub.com, all spelled out, and happy to respond offline.
I appreciate that. Leaders are readers, Todd. One more time, because it's definitely going to be a quiz question. Oh Great One by David Novak. What's the second book by David Novak? Is that Take Your People With You?
It's called Taking People With You.
Taking People With You. And then David Marquet's Turn Your Ship Around.
Turn the Ship Around.
Turn the Ship Around. And how do you spell Marquet?
It's Marquet.
And then the Jim Akers book, the title there?
Tape Breakers.
Excellent.
And as a side note, you'll have to kind of reach out from time to time and see what other books were kind of, I was mentioning before that Los Angeles is the #1 traffic congested place in the world. And so Audible has become my new friend, and there's lots of great titles. So if anybody else has any recommendations, I'm not yet in a position to promote the book, but there's The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F by Mark Manson, if you really want to go light.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Keefer, for your time this morning. This concludes our President's Cracker Barrel on this week's Catalyst webinar. Want to remind everybody that there will be a quiz going out, a 10-question quiz on the content of the presentation this morning. Please take the quiz and return it to Sharon Kerfman at pgahq.com. A score of 70% or higher will earn 1 MSR credit for attending today's presentation. Thank you very much, everybody, and have a great day.